Okay, I'm back with some more wrestling news. Hopefully I can get this video working again. Yeah, again, a couple of times it's going to take. It's taken to actually try and do this video, but never mind. Firstly, of course, if you were watching Monday Night Raw, you would have seen the Rosebuds accompany Adam Rose when he got interviewed. Uh, certainly many of the Rosebuds that were on Monday Night Raw were actually graduates of the Source Wrestling School based in Glasgow, Scotland. Yes, many of them were UK wrestlers. I couldn't get a full list of everybody, but certainly involved were the likes of Joe and Mark Coffey, two great talented wrestlers, long time, obviously, the Real Brothers, great tag team in UK wrestling, and the man who was dressed in the pink suit, who was grabbed by Jack Swagger, is called local hero Joe Hendry. Now, not only is he a good wrestler, a singer with in his band, which is called Lost in Audio, as in audio as in sound, so AUDIO. Check out the song, like that Angeline song. He was the guy that beat legendary professional wrestling manager Jim Cornette in the Burger Challenge that Jim Cornette took part in Scotland while he was on his recent UK tour. I'll put a link up so you can see the trailer for Corny in the UK, the upcoming DVD. I wasn't able to make the tour, unfortunately, but I'm really looking forward to seeing this DVD. It should be a good one. Jim Cornette was spent about 2 weeks odd in the UK, was following around every day with cameras, and from a couple of bits that I've seen in the trailer, it looks good. So when it is released, hopefully I'll be able to get a chance to purchase it, watch it, and of course review it here on this YouTube channel. But I have to say, before I end this, congratulations to all those people from the Source Wrestling School that was actually on Monday Night Raw. Great to see certainly Scottish talent, a lot of Scottish talent there on WWE television. Now, WWE, of course, make video games as well, and WWE on their Facebook page announced that WWE 2K15, the next installment of the video game franchise, will be launched on October 28th, and then internationally on October 31st. The platforms announced so far, and I'm guessing these might be all of them, but it will certainly be coming out for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. Hope the next gen consoles, Xbox One and PlayStation 4, don't just get visually upgraded versions of this game. I do hope they do put at least a little something into those next generation versions of the game. WWE have also announced the return to Malaysia for the first time since 2002. They will do 2 shows at the Putra Stadium in Kuala Lumpur on Friday, October 10th and Saturday, October 11th. Tickets will go on sale Saturday, May 31st at 10 AM. Currently advertising the likes of John Cena, Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family, The Shield, Intercontinental Champion Bad News Barrett, and many more. NXT TakeOver is our next one event I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing. I don't think they aired Arrival on UK TV. I was able to see it online, but NXT TakeOver is going to be the second super show for NXT. It's going to be live on the WWE Network, I believe, happening on May 29th, so we are just about a week away from that. The 4 matches announced for this show so far, this may be a little bit of a spoiler to some people, but there's the Ascension, Connor and Victor to face El Local and Kalisto for the NXT Tag Team Championship. Sami Zayn will face Tyler Breeze to determine the #1 contender for the NXT Championship. Charlotte will face Natalya for the currently vacant NXT Women's Championship. have to say I would like to have seen Paige retain the title, keep the title, and perhaps the stress of defending both championships weigh heavily on her until eventually she lost one, which is going to have been the NXT Women's Championship. But they stripped her of the title, so Charlotte will face Natalya in the tournament finals to decide the new Women's Championship. Women's Champion. And Tyson Kidd will face Adrian Neville for Neville's NXT Championship. WWE in their NXT Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, have apparently brought back former National Wrestling Alliance Heavyweight Champion Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce is a veteran, a lot of knowledge that guy has, a lot of experience. I'm sure the NXT guys and women will certainly learn a lot from him. Obviously no word from whether WWE will actually ever offer Pearce a deal to become a full-time wrestling trainer, but he has held a couple of these 1-week coaching sessions at the Performance Center before. So it goes to show that even WWE bringing in a guy like Adam Pearce, recognizing that this guy has the knowledge and experience that they want to at least try to transfer to their NXT talent. It looks like WWE are certainly putting the time, the effort, and certainly the finances into their NXT developmental system. WWE have also announced they're doing an event at Madison Square Garden on July the 12th, part of their SummerSlam Heatwave Tour. The current card reflects the current situation in WWE. Daniel Bryan defending the World Heavyweight title against Triple H. John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, and the United States Championship on the line as Sheamus defends against Randy Orton. I keep saying this, but when they announce these kind of events in advance like this, the card will obviously reflect the current going-ons and the positioning in WWE. Many things could change. Daniel Bryan may have to give up the world title. Bray Wyatt may be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion in July. Santino Marella may be the United States Champion again. You know, all these cards that people go mental over, people go crazy over and say, oh, this is, well, we now know what's going to happen at Payback, or we now know what's going to happen on Raw, we know now what's going to happen this or that event, or we know this and that is going to happen. When WWE reveals these cards for these events in advance like this, it's reflective of the current situation and positioning in WWE. It does not mean that things will not change between the time that the events are announced and the time that the events happen. Now on to a couple bits of news from Impact Wrestling. Frankie Kazarian has confirmed that in an interview with BetweenTheRopes.com that he is no longer with the company. I'll read a little bit about, of the interview, just a little bit of one of the questions that he was asked. You can, I said, BetweenTheRopes.com, I believe you can read the full interview there. I haven't read it entirely myself, had a quick scan through it, but it's, and I overuse this word, but it is actually interesting, this section that I'll read out to you. He was asked about seeing so many long-time TNA wrestlers no longer with the company. His answer was, well, part of his answer was, it's different. My last day at TNA, I said this to a few people, I didn't feel like I was leaving TNA because I didn't feel like I recognized the company. There were still people I'll miss, but it didn't feel like I was leaving TNA. Honestly, there was a couple of red flags, and this was even preceding when I was starting to make up my mind about my current situation. AJ Styles leaving, obviously, because I'm very close to AJ, and knowing what he was going through and talking to him, that was huge. I was like, wait a minute. I say this as his friend, and I say this selfishly. I don't understand why they didn't do whatever it took to keep him there. And I'm not just saying that because he's a friend. I'm saying that because he's a franchise guy. So, some good viewpoints, I said, between theropes.com. I believe you can get the full interview there. Certainly, Frankie Kazarian, and this was mentioned on a podcast I'll talk about by James Storm just this week. It's amazing to see the difference in the talent and the situation of Impact Wrestling that they're doing. Really, a lot of rumours. Again, I hate going into rumours on my YouTube channel because a lot of them are unfounded, because there's so many reports again today about various people and various companies or various deals going through, or this is situation updating on. They put the words backstage update on the piece of news, and they expect people to react like they're in they're, oh, these guys must be in the know, they must have genuine backstage sources, they must know people, or this must be true, or whatever. But certainly a lot of rumours, a lot of things going on about speculation about the future of Impact Wrestling, where they're going, their direction, both financially and creatively. I think that it's certainly a bad thing for TNA to lose so many good talents like Bad Influence, Christopher Daniels, and Frankie Kazarian. Apparently, he does say though that TNA owns the name Bad Influence, but if it is Kazarian, as I believe it is, who is joining Christopher Daniels going to Ring of Honor, I think a name for their tag team is something that people will not need to worry about. So maybe they lost Bad Influence name. They'll find another name. These two guys are too talented to fret and to be worried about something as simple as a name. Now, a little bit of information. Impact Wrestling here in the UK airs on the television channel Challenge TV. They are reconfiguring the Explosion television show. It's going to be more family friendly, and it's going to be a family friendly time, kind of. From the 31st of May, which is a Saturday, it will be airing at 9 AM, 9 o'clock in the morning. So you can get some morning wrestling action. Although it is going to be a bit reconfigured to be a more family-friendly show. The premiere airing of episodes of Explosion will still be on Wednesdays at 11 PM. A couple of quick bits to finish off. Firstly, TNA will be working again with Wrestle One promotion, having a couple of matches in Japan on July the 6th. Including matches for the TNA World Tag Team Championship. No challengers yet decided, but of course the champions currently are Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, so they'll be heading out if they're still tag champs on July the 6th. And a potential X Division Championship match, and I think this will be a really good match. It's mentor versus student. If he is still the TNA X Division champion, Sanada will go one-on-one with the Great Muta. That will be a good match. Of course, Muta and Sanada were both at Lockdown, TNA's pay-per-view a couple of months back. I have much respect for the Great Muta. Watched him for many, many years since he started pretty much in WCW, NWA, and that became World Championship Wrestling. He is a legendary Japanese wrestler. For the final bits podcast, as I said earlier, Cowboy James Storm is on this week's edition of the Steve Austin Show Unleashed. Apparently Steve Austin, I'll say this, I'll include this as well. Steve Austin says, and I've seen podcast one tweets as well. People still saying about um, getting odd or even number Steve Austin show. There is actually two feeds, two different programs of the Steve Austin show. There's the Steve Austin show, which is released on Tuesdays. Tuesday is the family-friendly version, and on Thursday, Unleashed is the more adult content, adult language show. You can go onto Podcast One, that's podcastone.com, and you can find the Steve Austin show and the Steve Austin show Unleashed on there for free. And you can also, which I find is easier, and the way that I do it, you go on iTunes, you put in the Steve Austin show, you can click through to there and you'll find the list of it, go through to it, you'll see the list of episodes, click the subscribe button, and once the episodes are released, when you boot up your iTunes, when you go into iTunes, it'll start automatically downloading the episodes and whatever other podcasts you've subscribed to. Once they have been released, the next time you go on iTunes, it'll start automatically downloading them. Occasionally I find a little bit of problem with it. Sometimes I just need to search the Steve Austin show and then Steve Austin show Unleashed and find the pages properly. But normally it does do it, just downloads it automatically. And the same goes for the Steve Austin show Unleashed, which has a separate iTunes page. Just search Steve Austin show Unleashed. I'm sure you'll find it. The Steve Austin show Tuesday one is a green background with Steve Austin on it, and the Steve Austin show Unleashed has got the black background. I'm talking about the pictures, the logos of these two shows. So please check them out. Subscribe to both of them. Click the subscribe button on both of the feeds, and you'll get them both downloaded. And today is Thursday. Today's Unleashed show is with the Cowboy James Storm, Impact Wrestling star. He actually even talks about being pretty much the last original Impact Wrestling guy in the company, about his career, about his left eye, about growing up, his basketball scholarship, about playing basketball, and a few other things. I believe they'll be doing a part 2 next Thursday. Also, Steve Austin will have upcoming next week Leon White, otherwise known as Big Van Vader. I've been a long time fan of Big Van Vader. Saw him when he started in WCW as well, when he came in from Japan. One of the really great wrestler. Check him out on YouTube. Matches with likes of Stan Hansen and a lot of other people. He was a really good wrestler. WWE didn't go as well as it could have, but he's a really good wrestler. And I'm happy to also report that another wrestling podcast is coming to Podcast One. Listings of their shows, and it is none other than former WCW World Heavyweight Champion Bill Goldberg. Now, I tweeted Podcast One when I saw this. I saw this tweet. I'll read it out. A happy birthday to @Tony Stewart. Excited to have you for the debut episode of Who's Next with @Goldberg @Podcast One. That's Podcast ONE, as I said. I asked him, Bill Goldberg having his own podcast? ? Exclamation mark. When is it starting? And they replied to me this Friday, and that was just yesterday, or the day before yesterday, that I actually asked that question. That apparently it will be starting tomorrow. The Bill Goldberg podcast, Who's Next, although the title may change, of course. But that's Podcast One, that's podcastone.com, or on iTunes it may be. Of course, Bill Goldberg is this week's guest on the Ross Report, which is Jim Ross, legendary Jim Ross's podcast. Give that a listen to as well. Go check it if you also, very quickly before I go, if you want, I said a few things there about podcasts. If you want to get a list of some of the podcasts to listen to, check out my my YouTube channel on this, my YouTube video on this channel, wrestling podcasts to listen to. I'll put the link up maybe at the start of this video as well, so you can click through it. And you can see some of the podcasts that I listen to, like the Jim Cornette Show, The Art of Wrestling, and congratulations to Colt Cabana on 200 episodes. This week's a look back on the last 199 episodes, with clips and conversations about the past episodes. I haven't listened to it yet, but it's going to be a really good one. So check out that video on my channel, wrestling podcasts to listen to, if you want to hear about some of the other podcasts that are going on. And I'm really excited to listen to Who's Next with Bill Goldberg, coming hopefully tomorrow, certainly very soon, on Podcast One. That's one.com, and as I said, it'll most likely be on iTunes. It also will be, I believe, completely free of charge. So that's all some wrestling news going on. I want to very quickly mention Discovery Wrestling. Their event has been postponed a little bit from October 4th to October 11th. It's still, I believe, scheduled to be a television taping. It's their first show. Their debut, the postponement is just due to a slight change of venue, due to a couple of preparational things. The event is certainly still going ahead. I know the guys who run it. It's going to be showcasing the best of UK wrestling talent. I'm looking forward to seeing what it'll be like. A lot of big shows coming up in the next couple of months in the UK. Obviously, any wrestling shows I attend, I'll give a review of the Roddy Piper show, the Discovery Wrestling show, the Scottish Wrestling Entertainment stuff is still going on. Next show is May 31st for them at the Arthur Complex, and they've just signed Stephen Magners versus Chaz Phoenix, two former tag team partners who literally, genuinely hate the hell out of each other. That will be a brutal match. It's no DQ match, it's just a normal singles match, but that will be a match that kids stay back from ringside on. That match, that is a heated rivalry. They've gone at each other with hammers, with chairs, with all sorts of weaponry over the last few months. It's going to be really good. But said, any updates, any shows that I go to, I will mention them. Any updates, any news, of course, anything that's going on in the world of professional wrestling that I that I hear about, any big breaking news, as always, I will put up on this YouTube channel.